Hi guys, today we're going to learn about multiplying rational numbers. Before we jump into the problems that are listed, I wanted to share with you guys this neat little multiplying integers cheat sheet. Whenever your integers are the same, let's look at the people's faces down at the bottom, like a positive times a positive. That's always going to give you a positive answer, and so that's represented by their mouth. The same thing for the little guy in the middle. Negative times a negative is positive because the signs are the same. Now, the kid with the sideways hat, if you notice his eyes are different, positive times a negative. When the signs are different like this, it's always going to give you a negative answer. So over to the side, they say, okay, if you multiply and they have the same sign, it will be positive. Or if you multiply with different signs, it's going to be negative. The little tic-tac-toe sheet tells us the same information no matter which way you look at it. I'm going to start with the diagonal here. Positive times a positive is positive, or up and down. Negative times negative is positive, or sideways. Negative times negative is positive. We could look at this in other ways. If you notice, starting here in the middle at the top, negative times positive, those symbols are different, so that will give you a negative answer. Or a negative here in the middle on the left, negative times positive, those are different, so it will give you negative. So this is just some, I think, a neat little cheat sheet to help you remember your multiplying and dividing integers rules. And we're going to apply these to our word problems. So let's start with the first one. We're going to multiply negative 2 times negative 3.5. When there's parentheses around the number and then there's a different number out in front, that just means to multiply. When multiplying decimals or whole numbers, I usually like to put the number with the most digits on top. It just seems easier to me, but it does not matter how you set it up. I'm going to put negative 3.5 on top times negative 2. The nice thing with multiplying decimals is you don't have to line up your decimal like you do with adding and subtracting. So if you notice the 2, I just placed it under the 5, even though if we were adding, we would have the 2 underneath the 3. So let's start multiplying. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. Now I notice that there is one number that's after a decimal. So because that's the case, we need to count over one time from the end. And our answer is 7.0. Now let's look at our rules. I'm noticing that this is a negative and another negative, so we multiplied two negatives together. And right here, negative times a negative is a positive. Or we could use this here. If they are the same, it's a positive answer. Negative 7.0 is the same as, 7.0 is the same as 7. Alright, let's try the next one. Multiplying fractions. I want to rewrite it so I have a little more space. Negative 2 over 3 times negative 1 over 2 times negative 3 over 5. Again, the parentheses, when they're next to each other like this, that just means to multiply. We're going to multiply straight across. So all the numerators we're going to multiply together. Let's ignore the negatives for now, but we will come back to it. 2 times 1 is 2. And then we're going to do 2 times 3, which is equal to 6. Let's do the same thing with the denominator. So this is different than adding and subtracting. We don't have to have common denominators for multiplying, and we're going to just multiply straight across. 2 times 3 is 6. And then 6 times 5 is 30. Now let's talk about the negative signs. If I take a negative times a negative, let's just look at the first two numbers to begin with. A negative times a negative, those signs are the same, so that is positive. So this became a positive at this point. But then we had to do a positive times a negative for this last number. Well, these signs are now different. And I'm noticing that if you have different signs, it will be negative. So our answer is negative 6 over 30. Now let's review simplifying fractions, because I know that this is not in its simplest form. So let's take negative 6 over 30, and we got to think of a number that goes into both 6 and 30. Well, I know both of these are even numbers. We could start with dividing by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 30 divided by 2 is 15. This is still not in its simplest form. There is a number that goes into both 3 and 15, and that is 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 15 divided by 3 is 5. So really our answer is negative 1 over 5. Most of the time you will need to simplify. And both of these numbers that I boxed are the same. 6 over 30 is the same as 1 over 5. Alright, let's look at the next one. Gina hiked down a canyon and stopped each time she descended 1/2 of a mile to rest. She hiked a total of 4 sections. What is her overall change in elevation? So I know that she's going 4 sections, and we know that each time, that's a really important keyword, each time it was 1/2 of a mile. Let's draw a picture of this. She's descending, so that would be going down. I'm going to break it up into 4 sections. So for this first section, she stopped after 1/2 of a mile, after 1/2 of a mile again, after 1/2 of a mile again, and then 1/2 of a mile again. This is called repeated addition, where 1/2 of a mile is happening over and over 4 times. Repeated addition is the same as multiplying. So we are going to take those 1/2 sections and multiply it with 4. Now, we need to rewrite this 4 as a fraction. 4 is the same as 4 over 1. Because if you do 4 divided by 1, that's still going to give you 4. So let's change this. 1/2 times 4 over 1. And then remember, we just multiply straight across. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. We do need to simplify this. Now I'm going to do Philo, first in, last out. First number in, last number out. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And so our answer is 2. What is her overall change in elevation? Her overall change is 2. And actually, since she was descending, I didn't think about this earlier, she was descending 1/2 of a mile each time, so that was negative. And a negative times a positive, since those are different, it is a negative answer. So this is negative 2. Remember, if the signs are different, looking at this little kid with the hat, if the eyes are different, the signs are different, it's a negative answer. And descending means to go down, decrease. Alright, last example. Juan loses $3.60 each day. Again, this word each is very important, and we'll discuss this later on in future lessons as well. If he goes to school for 3 weeks, how much money will he have lost? Now, we're talking about days and we're talking about weeks here, and I even gave the hint. How many days are in a school week? Well, most of us go to school 5 days a week. So we're going to say that this is 5 days each week. And then we're going to school for 3 weeks. So 5 days each week. Week 1 has 5 days. Week 2 has another 5 days. Week 3 has another 5 days. So 5 times 3 is 15. And that's 15 days. So each day, they're losing $3.60. That's why I put a negative here for 15 school days. And we want to know how much total, or how much money they lost in all. So we're going to multiply those 15 days with the $3.60 for each day to find out the total. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 3 is 15, 16, 17, 18. Now, we are done with the 5. We're on to the 1. When that happens, we need to put our placeholder 0 here and then start multiplying. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. And remember, we used the 3 last time, so I'll mark that out. Let's add these 2 rows together. 0, 0, 8 plus 6 is 14. 3 plus 1 plus 1, that's 5. Now, I'm noticing that after the decimal, this time there's 2 numbers. So we need to count over from the end, from the right side, 1, 2 times. And this would be $54. They lost $54, and that is negative. And if you check our rule from over here, we had a negative times a positive. So when you have a negative times a positive, that's going to give us a negative answer. When the signs are different, it's negative. Today we reviewed multiplying rational numbers, we reviewed decimals, we reviewed fractions. There's even this neat little cheat sheet that you can use, and the cheat sheet will work for multiplying and dividing. Thanks for watching.